After a long career, sometimes we just start to take it for granted that things are always going to go our way after we've had certain decades worth of success. And once you're over 50, you probably aren't thinking, oh, my whole career could get derailed at any time. But it happens to more people than you think. Now, I've worked for, almost 15 years as a professional speaker and corporate trainer. And while I planned for ups and downs in running my own business and things that could happen, my topics could become less popular, etc., the one thing I never was prepared for was a global pandemic that would put us into lockdown and shut down the live meeting industry for almost 2 years. I simply never thought that was an option. For years, people said you have to have a plan B, you have to have multiple streams of income. And I thought, oh, come on, I've been doing this for 12 years, it's a lot of fun, I've got it figured out, and I'm just gonna be able to ride it out into my retirement years. And then COVID hit and everything I knew just stopped. It was like a giant parking brake was pulled on my entire career. Now, for you, there might be different reasons why your career has bounced off from the direction that you thought it was gonna go. However, if you're struggling to reinvent yourself now that you're in your 50s and a job that you thought you were gonna have forever, for any one of a number of reasons has gone away, I have a couple of tips for you to get your career back on track. And this might mean that you have to reinvent everything that you've known. It might mean that you have to try new things and get scrappy and roll up your sleeves. And some people just don't look forward to having to do that. The first thing that you have to do if you get laid off or your company goes out of business or for any number of reasons, you become separated from a career where you self-identified a lot of who you are at your soul with the work that you did. You have to allow yourself a little bit of time to grieve and to just let it soak in. When my career stopped in 2020, I really didn't even know what to do. And I spent about a week just letting it all happen around me. And then I moved forward. I realized that I couldn't open up our society and start live meetings happening again anytime soon. And so therefore, I was gonna have to pivot and try different things. The quicker I was able to get to a level of acceptance that my world had changed and it was out of my control, the sooner I was able to come to some peace with what had happened. So what I did next was what I think you should do, and that is I created a plan where I talked to one smart person every day. Monday through Friday, I set up Zoom calls with people I knew who I respected. Some of these were other professional speakers, some were meeting planners and former clients, and others were people in a wide variety of industries who I just thought were smart and who were successful. And I would catch up with them, find out how they were doing with the lockdown and everything that was going on, but then I would lead to the purpose of why I had set up the call. And I just let them know that the business that I had built was temporarily removed from being a possibility. And I asked them to help me brainstorm ways that I could earn an income and continue to grow my career. And I will tell you, not everybody I talked to had an idea. Not everybody had a great idea. But over the course of April to December, when I was talking to 5 people a week, looking for suggestions and inspiration, I got about 10 ideas that I was able to implement that allowed me to move forward and try new things and be able to branch out and diversify the portfolio of offerings that I had. You can't do it alone, and you shouldn't have to do it alone. We live in a world where we're all interconnected. So turn to the people you know, let them know that, hey, I'm struggling with something in my career. And if you're embarrassed because you're 55 years old and your career has changed, let them know, I'm struggling, this is hard for me, but I'm looking for ideas. Realize that most people aren't gonna have any way that they can help you and they're not gonna give you anything that can inspire you, but you never know where that little nugget of inspiration is gonna come from that's gonna change everything that you do moving forward. And then the last tip that I have for you is embrace the new normal. When things change, we can't sit around moaning and wishing and hoping that things would go back to the way they were before, because that's not the way it works. The world's not gonna be like it was in 2019, not for me. And so I have to accept that my speaking career is gonna look different. There's gonna be a lot more virtual work. I'm now certified by 2 different organizations to do training on trust and accountability. So now I'm able to go into companies and do training classes, where before my career was focused mainly on association and corporate conferences where I did keynote speaking. So I've changed up what I'm doing and I'm taking it in a lot of different directions. And I also went to work for an executive search firm doing business development and working on searches. And I'm probably going to work for this company forever. Executive search is an exciting industry, and it takes everything that I believe in about human connection and your network and finding the right people and bringing them together. My business world looks a lot different than it did 2 years ago, and I had to accept that things were changing. I had to look for inspiration and ideas, and then I had to go forward on this new path. So if you're struggling in your career, it's okay to take some time to roll up in a ball and cry and be mad and curse. And then the next day, roll up those sleeves, get scrappy, try new things, talk to a lot of people. And as you go down a new path, work as hard as you can. In a way, it's super invigorating. I feel like I'm 30 years old again because I'm trying all these new things. I'm not just coasting into my final years. Instead, I'm embracing a commitment that I made when I was 50, which is 5 years ago. And I made a commitment that I was going to make age 50 to 75 the best years of my life. And yes, I did that for the first 3 years. But the last 2 years, I've had to get really serious about it and make decisions around what can I do to open up new pathways and make sure that the next 20 years are the best years of my life. Now, a little sideline, people always say to me, Thom, your dad lived to be 99 years old. What about age 75 to 100? I will cross that bridge when I get to it. For right now, I am in this season, and that season is age 50 to 75. And you know what? I just have to be scrappy. I have to be inventive. I have to try new things, and I have to be aware that maybe my career gets derailed again for any types of reasons. And instead of sticking my head in the sand and just thinking everything's going to be the same, I now have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, and a plan E. And if those don't work, I'll create a plan F and G and moving forward. So if you're struggling right now in your career and you're over 50 and you feel overwhelmed, realize you're not the first person to be in this situation. It happens to a lot of people. Go out there and realize that if anyone can overcome problems later in life, you can too. Get excited about it and allow yourself that time to grieve, look for help, and then get out there and make things happen. So do me a favor, subscribe down below to this channel. I'm trying to create a place where we can share ideas about what all of us can do to make age 50 to 75 the best years of our lives. Please join me.